The soft hum of the universe whispered through the quiet of the night. Somewhere far above the clouds, beyond the reach of city lights and human noise, a silver vessel floated gently through space. It was not a ship of war or glory, but of peace, a sanctuary among the stars. Inside this sanctuary, a young spaceflight researcher named Lyra Callan adjusted the strap of her sleep harness and peered out through the circular window of the Aetheris station, a reimagined, more advanced descendant of the International Space Station. Unlike the cold, mechanical environments of early space missions, Aetheris was designed for long-term habitation, featuring calm lighting, soft acoustic panels, and living quarters that reflected a sense of home. As Lyra's eyes traced the glowing curve of the earth below, she inhaled deeply and let the exhale calm her nerves. This was her third rotation in orbit, but it was the first time she'd truly paused long enough to feel still. It had been a day full of experimentation, team updates, and equipment calibrations, but now, the time had come to unwind. Just beside her, a mellow voice echoed through the station's quiet communication system. "Good evening, crew. This is mission rest cycle 4 commencing. All systems nominal. Sleep tracking begins in 15 minutes. It was a gentle reminder from the onboard AI assistant, Orion, programmed not only to assist with tasks but to guide the crew into calm, rhythmic routines in the absence of natural day-night cycles. Lyra smiled softly. There was something oddly comforting about Orion's voice, like a lullaby spun from circuits. She floated slowly toward her sleeping compartment, using her fingers to gently pull herself along handrails. The movement had become second nature, like a subtle underwater ballet. Along the corridor, the walls glowed in hues of pale lavender, reflecting the dimmed night cycle ambience. Inside her private chamber, no bigger than a phone booth, Lyra zipped herself into her sleep sack, which gently held her in place like a cocoon. With the dim light casting soft shadows across her cheekbones, she closed her eyes and focused on her breathing. In and out. In and out. She had learned this from Commander Juno Merrick, the station veteran with over 400 days logged in orbit. He had said once, "You're not floating. You're falling endlessly around the Earth. Don't fight it, drift with it." And so she did. Her thoughts began to loosen their grip on the day's stress. She allowed her senses to dissolve into the background, the gentle click of a module's fan, the occasional creak of metal expanding in the cold, and the soundless rhythm of her heartbeat. Lyra imagined herself outside the station, drifting alone among stars. She felt the soft tug of weightlessness, as though her body was slowly evaporating into the cosmos, atom by atom, until she was part of the night itself. Above her floated the moon, larger, more luminous than she'd ever seen it from Earth, and somewhere far off, Saturn's rings gleamed like jewelry tossed into the dark. Through the intercom, Orion's voice returned, but now as a soft guided meditation. Imagine your body relaxing, every muscle letting go. Feel your breath, slow and steady. With each exhale, you become lighter, and lighter, until gravity is just a memory. And it worked. Her hands, her arms, her chest, everything seemed to dissolve. She was no longer tethered by Earth's pull. She was gliding through the void, safe, free, and weightless. But tonight, Lyra didn't dream of Earth. She dreamed of Galeen, a distant exoplanet they'd all talked about on mission day. The planet orbited a binary star system, and the entire surface glowed faintly under twin moons. In her mind, she was there walking through lavender fields that shimmered with bioluminescence, hearing winds that carried crystalline chimes instead of noise. It was an impossible world, but one she returned to every time her eyes closed. Back on the Aetheris station, the rest of the crew began their sleep cycles. Kaito Ren, the Japanese engineer, drifted asleep listening to Earth's classical music on a loop. Samira Darza, the botanist from Iran, clutched a small sachet of dried mint leaves that reminded her of home. And Commander Juno, ever stoic, allowed himself one luxury reading a printed page from a tattered old copy of Cosmos by Carl Sagan before sleep. The stars outside pulsed slowly, like a living heartbeat. The station orbited in silence, completing another loop around the Earth every 90 minutes. Cities glimmered like embers below, silent, unaware of the watchers above. As Lyra descended deeper into sleep, her final thoughts were not of home, but of wonder. What would it be like to never return? To simply float across time, across memory, across the unknowable. And with that thought, she drifted off completely. No more weight. No more noise. Just the stars. There was something oddly ceremonial about dinner in space. Lyra Callan drifted down the passageway of Aetheris station with smooth, practiced motions, her hands catching one bar at a time. Each movement sent her gliding like a feather through the weightless corridor, dimly lit in twilight tones. She turned the corner toward the communal galley, a small open space no larger than a cozy kitchen on Earth, yet in zero gravity, every corner became usable space. Velcro strips and magnetic latches covered the walls, keeping pouches, utensils, and containers from drifting away. Inside, the crew had already begun to gather. Kaito Ren floated near the heater panel, holding a pouch labeled Japanese curry rice. With one hand, he secured himself to a foot strap, and with the other, he carefully injected warm water into the dehydrated meal using a rehydration station designed with precision valves and digital heat controls. Across from him, Samira Darza was laughing quietly as she chased a runaway spoon. It spun slowly in the air, defying gravity's pull, until she caught it with a gentle swipe. Her dinner was something green and spicy, a Persian herb stew she'd helped the culinary techs replicate for space rations. It smelled, vaguely, of mint and mystery. And sitting in the middle of the galley, or rather, anchored at the center by soft magnetic pads, was Commander Juno Merrick, holding a large silver pouch with a scrawled label that simply read, "Jambalaya, Juno style." "We're one floating candle away from a formal banquet," he quipped. Everyone chuckled. It was a shared ritual. Space dinner, however odd it looked, was sacred. Not just for nutrition, but for morale. For connection. For grounding, in a place where nothing grounded you. Lyra joined them, retrieving her meal, something called galactic lentil stew, a new addition to the Aetheris menu. She hooked her feet into a side rail and carefully opened the pouch. The smell was surprisingly hearty, almost nostalgic. Guess what arrived in the latest cargo drop? Kaito said, eyes gleaming. He unzipped a foil container and pulled out, to everyone's disbelief, a fresh apple. The crew gasped in collective joy. It might as well have been gold. There are 4 of them. We can quarter one, he offered. No, said Samira, grinning. Let's wait until tomorrow night. We'll make it an event. A space fruit ceremony. They laughed, but they all agreed. Space rituals mattered. As they ate, floating quietly in place or clipped to the rails, the conversation meandered. Kaito spoke about his daughter's recent message, a drawing of Saturn with tiny hearts orbiting it. Juno shared a story of his first mission, when a pouch of tomato soup burst mid-air, coating a window like a red nebula. Samira recited lines of poetry she wrote in Farsi and translated softly into English. And Lyra listened, smiling, feeling a warmth in her chest. The kind of warmth that had nothing to do with food. It was belonging. Even 250 miles above Earth. Just then, the station lights flickered, not in panic, but gently, as if to remind them of the coming rest cycle. 5 minutes to dream time, Orion announced. Everyone began sealing their pouches, storing leftovers, and wiping surfaces. In zero gravity, even a speck of sauce could become a hazard. But it had become routine. Calm. Beautiful, even. Before they left, Samira floated over to a storage box and pulled out a small surprise, a flat foil envelope with handwritten script, "From Earth with Love, raspberry chocolate bites." She tossed one to each crewmate, who caught them like astronauts catching falling stars. "Save it for the dream," she said. As Lyra drifted back to her pod, chocolate in hand, she caught something out of the corner of her eye through the observation dome. A light. Not a star. Not a satellite. Not the aurora. It pulsed slow and deliberate from beyond the curve of Earth's night side. She froze, watching it for a moment. But then it disappeared. She said nothing to the others. Perhaps it was just a distant reflection, or her mind weaving mysteries from starlight. Still, as she zipped into her sleeping bag and let the darkness cradle her, the image lingered. Tomorrow, she thought. She'd check the logs. But for now there was peace. A sweet bite of raspberry. A smile. A drifting mind. And the stars waiting in silence. The hum of the station was steady, a gentle presence like the low rhythm of ocean waves. But Lyra Callan awoke before the scheduled wake cycle, her eyes fluttering open to the muted blue of the cabin lights. There was no noise, no jolt, no alarm. And yet, something had stirred her. She floated quietly in her sleep chamber, listening. Nothing. Only the sound of her own breath, calm, steady. But her thoughts were not calm. The light. The memory of what she saw the night before returned with eerie clarity, that rhythmic glow beyond Earth's curve. Not a passing satellite. Not an aurora. Not a reflection. It had moved with purpose. Lyra slowly unzipped from her sleep bag and drifted out of the pod. Most of the crew was still asleep. The overhead lights were dimmed to twilight settings. Only the soft pings and low vibrations of station systems filled the corridors. She pulled herself along the rails until she reached the observation dome, an iconic module that opened like a crystal flower toward the stars. The dome had 6 windows, offering a panoramic view of the cosmos. Lyra floated into the center and hooked her foot into a loop to stay anchored. Below, the earth glowed in a wash of midnight blues and scattered gold city lights twinkling like constellations on land. A thin green band of atmosphere hovered on the horizon. She waited. Minutes passed. Then an hour. No light. Orion, she whispered, breaking the silence. Were there any anomalies logged in the last 10 hours? There was a pause, slight, but noticeable. No irregularities detected in sensor data, Lyra, the AI answered in its soothing tone. However, a low-frequency signal was registered from quadrant B14 at 2247 UTC. Signal lasted for 3 seconds and did not repeat. Would you like playback? Lyra's spine tingled. Yes, she replied, suddenly alert. Orion began a soft audio playback. At first, it was nothing but static. Then, a long, slow pulse like the echo of a deep sonar ping rolled through the speakers. Not mechanical. Not human. Her breath caught. It had rhythm, resonance. It felt almost intentional. Save and encrypt that file, she said. Label it Echo Wave 01. Done. She didn't mention it to the others during breakfast. Kaito was busy discussing an oxygen sensor calibration, Samira was laughing about a dream involving floating carpets, and Commander Juno was immersed in a technical readout from Houston. But that signal stayed with her. That afternoon, Lyra joined Samira in the hydroponics module, a tranquil green space that pulsed with moisture and artificial sunlight. Lettuce, tomatoes, and even flowering herbs gently bobbed within aeroponic columns. In this microgravity greenhouse, Earth life clung to space in suspended animation. You seem quiet today, Samira observed, carefully trimming basil leaves. Just thinking, Lyra replied, brushing her fingers across a cluster of mint. Do you ever wonder if something's out there watching us? Samira paused, a knowing smile tugging at her lips. We're floating in a black ocean. Of course something's watching, she said. But maybe it's just curious. Maybe it's lonely. The words lingered. That night, as the sleep cycle began, Lyra slipped back into the observation dome. She brought no tablet, no data log, just herself and the chocolate Samira had gifted. It had become her ritual. One bite before sleep. And there it was. The light. Faint, pulsing, almost like breathing. It hovered just beyond the orbital plane. This time, it held longer. 7 pulses. Then gone. Lyra did not panic. Instead, she floated forward and placed her palm against the glass. It was cold, silent. But she imagined for a moment that something or someone had reached back. The next day, she finally told Juno. The commander didn't react immediately. He listened, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. "Have Orion forward the logs to me," he said simply. Then after a long pause. "This station has eyes everywhere, Lyra. But sometimes, it misses things the human heart sees clearly." That evening, Juno gathered the crew after dinner. "We may have an unknown anomaly near orbit," he began. Lyra witnessed a signal. "I've reviewed it. We'll treat it like any celestial observation, carefully, curiously, without fear." Kaito looked intrigued. Samira tilted her head, clearly unfazed. "About time we had something weird happen," she said, grinning. "It's been too calm up here." They agreed to set a watch not for safety, but for discovery. Each crewmate would take turns observing the anomaly zone and logging anything strange. Suddenly, the station felt more alive. Not in danger, but alert. The rhythm of their orbit continued. The Earth spun below, beautiful and unaware. And as Lyra returned to her sleeping chamber, she felt it in her bones: this was no ordinary mission anymore. The stars, long thought silent, might have just whispered back. The silence of space had always been considered peaceful. A lullaby of nothingness, a canvas for the imagination to project onto. But for the crew of Aetheris station, that silence had begun to whisper. And those whispers found their way into dreams. It started 2 nights after Lyra Callan had recorded the echo wave signal. She awoke with a start, or rather, drifted suddenly out of the liminal haze between dream and waking. Her body, held gently by the sleep harness, had remained still, but her mind felt shaken. A vivid image clung to the edges of her consciousness, a field of pale blue flowers swaying, not in wind, but in pulses as if reacting to sound. "I was walking," she whispered aloud to herself, blinking into the darkness. "But there's no ground here." She pushed herself slowly from the sleep chamber and glided toward the galley, expecting to find solitude. Instead, she spotted Kaito already awake, strapped into the bench, sipping a warm electrolyte drink. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked, floating in beside him. "Strange dream," he said with a small frown. "I was back in Kyoto, but the streets were flooded with stars. I walked through them like snow." They exchanged glances. 2 dreams. 2 places. but the same sensation, a kind of message embedded within surreal imagery. Later that day, during their scheduled neuromonitoring session, Lyra brought it up with Commander Juno. Could these be side effects from solar radiation exposure? She asked. Our shielding is intact, Juno replied, thoughtfully. And your readings are normal. You're all alert. Stable. But sometimes, consciousness adapts to space in ways science hasn't mapped yet. He didn't dismiss it. That meant something. By the end of the week, every member of the crew had experienced at least one dream of unexplainable clarity. Samira described walking inside a glass tunnel that stretched across Saturn's rings, each footstep sending ripples into the void. Juno, always the skeptic, admitted to hearing a melody in his sleep. A sequence of 5 notes that he later found himself humming without realizing. But most compelling was when Orion itself spoke during a systems check. Query: multiple crew members experiencing dream state anomalies. Suggest cross-analysis with signal echo wave 01. Probability of correlation, 67. 2%. That number, not confirmation, but too high for coincidence, changed everything. The crew decided to initiate Observation Protocol Lumen, a rarely used research directive that allowed temporary reclassification of data based on unknown phenomena. It meant Orion would monitor not just external signals, but internal patterns, biometric data, dream frequency, brainwave anomalies. And as if on cue, Echo Wave 02 arrived. This time, it lasted nearly 10 seconds. The pulse was deeper, slower. It almost vibrated through the hull. Not in a physical sense, no tremors, but in their perception. It felt close. Lyra floated in the observation dome when it happened. She saw nothing, but felt everything. Her chest fluttered. Her breath hitched. The stars beyond looked unchanged, but the silence afterward rang louder than any sound. Do you feel it too? She whispered to no one. In the next few days, the anomaly zone began to shift. Orion tracked a minor fluctuation in magnetospheric readings just outside the station's orbital corridor. Not a threat, but a presence. Kaito ran diagnostics on the exterior panels. Everything was fine. Samira suggested it could be some form of conscious resonance, the signal interacting not with technology, but with the human mind. Like it's not speaking to the ship, she said. It's speaking to us. Juno remained cautious, but did not deny the possibility. The mind adapts to patterns, he said. Especially in isolation. But if something is communicating, we owe it to the stars to listen. And so they did. Each crew member began keeping a personal dream journal. Not just writing, but sketching. And strangely, without planning, the drawings began to converge. Circular structures. Ripple fields. Eye-like sigils suspended in impossible sky. Even Lyra, who had no artistic skill, found herself sketching the same symbol over and over, 3 interlocking arcs forming a triangle that pulsed like a heart. That night, the crew gathered in the galley not for dinner, but for stillness. They floated in a circle, each tethered gently to the center wall, where they projected their sketches and shared their dreams. No one tried to explain anymore. They simply observed. The unity among them was unspoken. They were no longer scientists first, but witnesses. Outside the station, Earth rotated beneath like a sleeping giant, unaware that its children were hearing things beyond science. Beyond sound. And in the silence of that moment, a soft tone bloomed through the station echo wave 03. It came not through the comms, but through their minds. Like a song without origin. A memory that hadn't happened yet. And as they listened, Lyra realized something that chilled her not with fear, but awe. This wasn't just contact. This was an invitation. The atmosphere aboard Aetheris station had changed. Not outwardly, systems still ran with clockwork precision, daily rituals continued, Earth still rolled beneath like a marble cloaked in mist. But inside, within the crew, there was a shared awareness. A silent current passed between them whenever they crossed paths in a corridor, or locked eyes during a meal. They were no longer simply researchers on rotation. They were participants. Lyra Callan could feel it most clearly in the quiet hours, those liminal moments between scheduled tasks and artificial nightfall, when her thoughts wandered into places neither earthly nor spatial. "We've been listening," she said one evening during debrief, "but maybe it's time we speak." Samira, ever the dreamer, leaned forward. Not with instruments. Not with words. But with something else entirely. Commander Juno raised an eyebrow but didn't interrupt. This was a discussion the crew had avoided naming for days, the strange, silent idea that had taken root in all of them since Echo Wave 03. If it's truly communicating with our minds, Samira continued, then what happens if we coordinate? Focus the same thoughts? The same image? What if we dream back? Silence followed, not because they disagreed, but because the suggestion felt both ludicrous and inevitable. Kaido broke it. "It's poetic. And maybe impossible," he said, "but I think we're past pretending this is just data. The dreams. They're aligning. I saw the triangle again last night," Lyra added quietly. "And this time, it opened. Inside was a field. But the stars weren't above. They were growing from the ground." Juno leaned back. "We build experiments. That's what we do. If this is a signal of consciousness or a feedback loop of cognition, then maybe coordinated intent is the only variable we haven't tried." They called it Project Morpheus. Each crew member was assigned a specific task in the dream composition. Lyra, with her affinity for observation, would focus on the structure, the triangle of arcs. Samira would cultivate the environment, a field filled with light, color, and sound. Kaito would project motion walking, flowing water, a path that could be followed. Juno, though initially skeptical, would serve as the anchor maintaining clarity and conscious awareness within the dream. For 3 nights, they practiced. Meditation cycles replaced recreational periods. Breath training synced with soft binaural rhythms that Orion composed based on the brainwave patterns of the first 3 echo waves. "What you're doing," Orion informed them, "is a cognitive harmonic loop. Probability of shared imagery, currently 11.2%. With repeated iterations, increasing logarithmically. By the 4th night, that number had risen to 37.4%. Still low. Still unproven. But something changed on the 5th night. It began like always slow breathing, dimmed lights, soft music pulsing like a distant tide. They entered their chambers at the same hour, consumed a low-protein dinner to allow for deeper REM activity, and each tethered into place, not as sleepers, but as voyagers. That night, Lyra's dream began not with the usual drift, but with clarity. She stood barefoot in a circular glade. Around her, stars grew from the ground like glowing reeds. Ahead, the triangle pulsed massive, suspended above a translucent lake. Its shape shimmered in violet and gold. Then she saw Samira, stepping into view from the far side wearing the same blue garment Lyra had imagined. Samira smiled without words and pointed toward the lake. Kaito arrived next, running his fingers through the reeds, their glow rippling like water disturbed. And finally Juno, arms crossed, but eyes wide with wonder. They had done it. They were inside the same dream. And the triangle was listening. From its center, a beam of light descended, not blinding, but warm. It split into threads, weaving around each of them like ribbon. The light carried sound, but not as vibration. As memory. Each crew member saw something unique. Lyra saw a child tracing constellations on a wall of stone beneath the sea. Kaito saw a city that floated, orbiting a black hole wrapped in silence. Samira saw language as color, entire libraries drifting like jellyfish in thought space. Juno saw himself. Standing on Earth, looking up. Then the dream ended. Not with a jolt, but a fade like film slowly exposed to dawn. They all awoke at the same moment. No one spoke for an hour. Not because they were shocked, but because they understood. Later, over breakfast, Juno finally broke the silence. Whatever that was. It wasn't just us. Samira nodded. We didn't build that place. We were invited there. Kaito was already pulling the telemetry logs from Orion. Brainwave alignments, REM phase overlaps, heartbeat synchronization. The numbers told their own story. Orion, Lyra asked, her voice calm but firm. Was there another signal last night? A moment passed. Yes, Orion replied. Echo wave 04. Detected at 3:18 UTC. Embedded pattern matches brainwave signature of all 4 crew members during sleep phase. Pattern match percentage. She asked. 98.6. They sat in silence again, this time not from confusion, but awe. They hadn't just received the signal. They had responded. And now, the stars were answering back. The following days on Aetheris station unfolded with surreal tranquility. After the shared dream, or the dream we sent, as the crew now referred to it, a gentle stillness seemed to envelop the station. There were no system errors. No external alerts. Only a soft shift in the atmosphere, not of oxygen and pressure, but of meaning. Every crew member felt it. The air tasted the same. The stars outside looked unchanged. But somehow, the silence had deepened. Orion, though still bound by his artificial parameters, had become less mechanical in his delivery. Temperature within ambient thresholds, he noted one morning. Cognitive harmony among crew, 89%. Remarkable. It was a strange metric to report, but no one questioned it. Samira had stopped asking if her basil was growing too fast. She knew it was. Not from photosynthesis, but from something else. Something more ancient than sunlight. Kaito began sketching equations he couldn't explain, looping symbols, layered geometries, spirals that refused to end. They feel like music, he whispered. Juno, the last to admit anything beyond protocol, finally confessed. I can see it, when I blink. That field from the dream. It's behind my eyelids. And Lyra, she had begun hearing it. A tone not from Orion, nor from the station, but from space itself. It echoed like a whisper from inside her skull. Not intrusive, not frightening. Just persistent. Like a memory she hadn't lived. Then came the light. It was Samira who saw it first. She had entered the lab window bay during her shift and froze mid-motion. Floating just off the horizon, partially obscured by the solar panels, was a point of radiance unlike anything she'd ever seen. It wasn't sunlight. It wasn't reflected debris. It shimmered with hues no spectrum chart could replicate, colors that seemed to shift depending on how long you looked. Sometimes violet. Sometimes silver. Sometimes something unnamed. She called for the others, her voice calm but tight. Within moments, the full crew floated shoulder to shoulder in the bay, strapped into anchor loops, staring. The light hovered motionless. Distance. Juno asked Orion. Impossible to determine, the AI responded. Visual parallax inconsistent. Object may not reside within three-dimensional fixed space. They all knew what that meant. The light wasn't a thing in space. It was a presence. Is it? Watching? Kaito murmured. No one answered. Because they all felt it? Later that night, as they gathered in the galley in near silence, Lyra broke the tension. It's not here to harm us, she said, spooning slowly through a pouch of ready drat soup. How can you be sure? Juno asked. Because I felt it, she said. It was waiting. Not pushing. Just listening. Samira, ever the poet, added, perhaps we're not the first to dream across the stars. Perhaps it's been waiting for someone to dream back for a long time. Juno didn't argue. They decided, unanimously, without hesitation, to continue. Project Morpheus would no longer be just a dream experiment. It would be their communication system. They began building a construct not with hardware, but with shared intention. Each member would contribute an element, imagined nightly, consistently. A structure with open doors, a place of invitation, not defense. A path made of starlight connecting Earth to somewhere far beyond. A symbol that pulsed like a heart, the interlocked triangle. And a light hovering above it, all the same they now saw through the lab bay window. Each night, they would enter this vision together. Each morning, they would debrief. On the fourth night, something changed. Samira awoke with tears in her eyes. It spoke to me, she whispered. Not in words, but in images. I saw planets blooming like flowers. Whole civilizations made of light. And then, a mirror. What did you see in the mirror? Lyra asked. Us, Samira said. Not as we are. As we could become. Then came Echo Wave 05. Unlike previous pulses, this one had shape, a harmonic spiral that folded into itself. Orion translated it as a three-dimensional lattice of coordinates. It is, Orion announced, a location. Juno stared at the display, his voice low. But there's nothing there. No stars. No objects. Just deep space. Orion, is it reachable? Lyra asked. Not with current propulsion, he said. But theoretically, yes. If a vessel were equipped to navigate subdimensional fields. They all looked at each other. This was not a message. It was an invitation. But not for Aetheris. Not yet. That night, Lyra couldn't sleep. She floated into the observation dome, chocolate square in hand, the dream treat that had become her ritual. The light was still there. But it had drawn closer. It no longer shimmered on the horizon, it now pulsed just beyond the upper solar wing. Silent. Watching. She placed her palm against the glass. And this time, The light moved. It drifted forward. Just slightly. Then stopped. A breathless moment passed. And then, gently, it pulsed 3 times. Not like a threat, but like a knock. A hello. A heartbeat. Lyra didn't move. Didn't speak. She simply smiled. Because she finally understood. They hadn't just contacted something. They had woken something up. And it had been dreaming, too. The days aboard Aetheris station had taken on an almost sacred rhythm. The crew moved with purpose, yet always with a quiet reverence, as if part of a ritual older than humanity itself. Each night, they returned to the shared dreamscape, weaving their intentions like threads into a tapestry stretching across the cosmos. But beyond the dreams, beyond the glowing pulses that now seemed to hum just outside the station's protective hull, something ancient stirred. It began with a faint disturbance in the station's sensors, a ripple in the cosmic background, barely perceptible but unmistakably real. Orion flagged the anomaly during a routine data sweep. An unusual pattern detected in deep space radiation readings, the AI reported. Analysis suggests artificial origin. Signal characteristics consistent with known echo wave signatures. Lyra, Kaito, Samira, and Juno gathered in the command module to review the data. What they saw was startling, a complex pattern of electromagnetic pulses, intertwined with faint echoes of long-forgotten signals. This was not a mere random noise, it was a message encoded in the language of the stars. "This is incredible," Lyra whispered. "It's like the universe is speaking through time." Juno nodded, his eyes sharp with a mix of excitement and caution. The pattern suggests the signal originates from a location deep within the galactic core, far beyond any current human exploration. Samira's gaze softened, as if connecting with a distant memory. Could it be a remnant of a civilization lost to time? A station of dreams left behind. Their speculation opened the door to new possibilities: a forgotten outpost, abandoned yet alive in the echoes of the cosmos, waiting for someone to listen. That evening, the crew embarked on a new experiment, Project Echo. They aimed to synchronize their brainwaves with the incoming signals, attempting to bridge the gap between conscious thought and cosmic memory. As they prepared, Lyra felt a mixture of anticipation and serenity. The meditation chambers were dimly lit, walls pulsating softly with hues of violet and blue. Each crew member took their place, hearts beating in quiet harmony. Orion's voice guided them gently. "Focus on the pattern. Let the signals flow through your mind. Open yourself to the echoes of the past." The sensation was unlike anything they had experienced. Their minds became vessels, drifting through vast fields of light and shadow. Images flashed: ancient star maps, spiraling galaxies, towering structures of crystal and metal. Lyra found herself standing on a platform suspended in an endless void. Around her, translucent beings moved gracefully, their forms shimmering with celestial light. They communicated not with words, but with waves of emotion and memory. Suddenly, the platform shifted, revealing a colossal structure, the lost station of dreams. Its architecture was both alien and beautiful, a fusion of technology and artistry that defied earthly understanding. This station, a voice echoed in her mind, was a beacon for wanderers, a sanctuary for minds seeking the infinite. Back in the chamber, the crew's breath synchronized with Orion's calm cadence. When the session ended, no one spoke immediately. They were too moved, too transformed. In the days that followed, the crew delved deeper into the mystery. Kaito analyzed the signal's mathematical complexity, uncovering fractal patterns that resembled ancient runes. Samira explored the possibility that the station was a nexus of consciousness, a place where dreams and reality intertwined. Lyra and Juno coordinated with Mission Control to search archival data for any historical anomalies resembling their findings. What emerged was tantalizing: a set of unverified transmissions from decades ago, dismissed as cosmic noise, now recognized as fragments of the lost station's signal. One night, during their shared dream, the crew encountered a new presence, a guardian of the station. It appeared as a luminous figure, neither human nor machine, radiating warmth and wisdom. "You are the first to awaken the dream," the guardian's voice resonated within their minds. "The station waits for those who listen, who dream beyond the stars." The figure extended a hand, inviting them to journey deeper into the dreamscape. Together, they traversed corridors of light and memory, uncovering the station's purpose: to preserve the knowledge and dreams of countless civilizations, to guide seekers through the vastness of existence. The lost station of dreams was no longer a distant myth. It had become a beacon, a destination marked on their digital star maps, glowing faintly like a promise. The coordinates encoded within the echo wave signals beckoned them beyond the familiar orbit of Earth, into the deep, uncharted void. Commander Juno Merrick sat in the command module, eyes fixed on the constellation patterns flickering across the display. The crew had spent days preparing for this moment, calibrating sensors, running simulations, and reviewing the station's limited propulsion capabilities. "Our vessel wasn't designed for long excursions," Juno said, voice steady but charged. "But we have one chance, a subdimensional maneuver that might let us approach the signal source without leaving orbit." Lyra nodded, feeling the weight of the mission settle around her shoulders. The delicate balance between science and wonder now demanded courage. Their small crew was about to cross a threshold few humans ever dreamed of. That evening, the station shifted. Soft humming rose as the thrusters engaged, subtle, precise. Aetheris twisted gently, aligning with the vectors Orion calculated. The stars outside blurred slightly as the station entered the experimental subspace fold, a ripple in the fabric of reality itself. In the observation dome, the crew watched breathless. "Coordinates locked," Orion announced. "Initiating approach sequence." Outside, the familiar blackness stretched deeper, darker. The glow of distant galaxies pulsed gently, and somewhere far ahead, a faint beacon shimmered. As the station glided forward, reality itself seemed to bend. Light curved in strange arcs, shadows danced with a life of their own, and space felt less like emptiness and more like a vast ocean, teeming with unseen currents. Lyra's heartbeat quickened. She wasn't just an observer anymore, she was a voyager crossing the threshold between the known and the unknowable. Suddenly, alarms chimed softly. Magnetic field fluctuation detected, Kaito reported. Approaching a region of unstable energy. Samira floated beside him, eyes wide with awe. This is no ordinary space anomaly, she said softly. It's alive. The station shuddered as it passed through an invisible veil. Systems flickered, and the familiar hum of machinery warped into a harmonious tone, a cosmic symphony that resonated with their very souls. Juno's voice was calm but firm. Brace for temporary systems interference. Maintain course. The crew tightened their grips on the handrails, eyes locked on the glowing beacon ahead. Then, it appeared. A colossal structure floated before them, bathed in iridescent light, the lost station of dreams. Its architecture defied earthly geometry, towers spiraled into infinity, bridges arced like ribbons of starlight, and surfaces shimmered with the colors of unseen spectrums. It was both alien and hauntingly familiar, as if built from fragments of their shared dreams. Lyra's breath caught. "We made it," she whispered. "We're really here." Orion projected the station's readings. Energy signature is stable but unlike anything in the database. Life signs undetectable by conventional means. Kaito activated external cameras. The visuals were mesmerizing, swirling clouds of luminescent particles drifting through transparent halls, ghostly silhouettes flickering like echoes of the past. As they prepared to dock, a new sensation washed over them. The station seemed to reach out not with mechanical arms, but with a presence. A gentle invitation. Sensors detect fluctuating quantum fields near docking bay, Orion said. Recommendation: proceed with caution. Juno nodded. Prepare the extravehicular suits. We step carefully. Floating through the airlock, the crew entered the lost station. The interior was a breathtaking labyrinth of light and shadow. Walls pulsed softly with a warm glow, and the air, though filtered through their suits, felt charged with life. Lyra reached out to touch a crystalline panel. It responded, rippling like water beneath her fingertips. Suddenly, images flooded her mind, star systems blossoming, civilizations rising and falling, dreams woven across epochs. Samira gasped. "It's a memory archive," she said. "A repository of consciousness." Juno scanned the area. "We're standing in the heart of the station's core," he said. "This is the source of the echo wave signals." As they explored, a chamber revealed itself, vast, dome-shaped, filled with floating orbs of light. Each orb seemed to contain a story, a fragment of a dream or a moment in time. Lyra floated among them, mesmerized. "These orbs, they're alive. Like sentient memories." A soft hum echoed through the dome, and from the largest orb, a voice emerged. "Welcome, travelers of the stars." The crew exchanged startled glances. The voice continued, gentle and timeless. "You have awakened the legacy of the Dreamweavers, a civilization devoted to preserving the dreams and hopes of the cosmos. This station is our sanctuary, a beacon for those who seek beyond." Lyra felt tears welling up. "Why have you reached out to us?" "Because your dreams resonate with ours. The bond between our consciousness spans light years and lifetimes. Together, we can bridge the gap between reality and the infinite." The lost station of dreams hummed softly as if breathing a living relic from a civilization beyond time. Lyra floated through the crystalline corridors, her senses overwhelmed by colors and sounds that defied earthly description. Every pulse of light, every whisper of the station felt like a heartbeat echoing across the vastness of space. But beneath the awe, a subtle tension had begun to weave itself among the crew. The Dreamweaver's invitation was more than a greeting, it was a summons. A call to prove their worthiness to join a cosmic fellowship guarding the fragile fabric between dreams and reality. Juno gathered the team in the chamber of floating orbs, the heart of the station's memory core. "The message was clear," he said, voice steady but serious. "To move forward, we must undergo the trials of the Dreamweavers." Lyra exchanged glances with Samira and Kaito. The word trials brought with it a flicker of doubt, but also a spark of determination. Orion's voice filled the chamber, calm and measured. "Trial initiation will commence shortly. Parameters, cognitive, emotional, and spiritual synchronization required." Suddenly, the orbs surrounding them flared brightly. Each orb projected a stream of shimmering light that enveloped the crew, and the world around them melted away. Lyra found herself standing in a vast garden not earthly, but woven from light and memory. The sky shimmered with auroras, and flowers bloomed with crystalline petals that chimed softly with the breeze. She was alone, yet not lonely. The garden pulsed with an energy that sang in her veins. From the distance, a figure approached, ethereal and radiant, eyes deep as the cosmos. "Welcome, Lyra Callan," the figure said, voice like a melody. "Your first trial is of insight. You must face your own dreams and fears, and find the truth within." A path unfurled before her, lined with mirrors reflecting shifting images, memories of childhood, moments of joy and loss, shadows of doubt and hope. As she walked, each reflection spoke softly, guiding her through tangled emotions. She saw herself as a child, gazing at the stars with wonder. She saw failures and regrets, but also resilience. The mirrors shimmered, merging images until a single truth remained clear. Her deepest strength came not from knowledge, but from compassion for herself, for others, and for the unknown. Meanwhile, Kaito's trial manifested as a labyrinth of sound. He stood in a cavernous hall where every step echoed in harmony and dissonance. Notes spiraled around him, weaving patterns that challenged his mind and spirit. A voice whispered in the symphony, "Balance the chaos and find the melody of your soul." He closed his eyes, letting the music flow through him. He remembered his daughter's drawing of Saturn, the stars she loved, and the hope she carried. Slowly, the discordant notes resolved into a perfect chord, and the labyrinth opened into a field of light. Samira's trial was one of connection. She was suspended in an ocean of stars, each shimmering point a consciousness reaching out in loneliness and longing. She felt the ache of isolation but also the profound beauty of shared existence. Embrace the unity of all dreams, a gentle voice urged. Let go of fear and merge with the cosmic tide. With tears in her eyes, she reached out, and the stars flowed into her memories, emotions, hopes binding her to the vast web of life. Juno's trial was the most daunting, a confrontation with his own shadow. He stood on the precipice of a black void, facing a figure draped in darkness, his doubts, fears, and regrets made manifest. Face yourself, the shadow commanded. Juno drew strength from his years of service, from the crew he protected, and from the new family he had found aboard Aetheris. With steady breath, he stepped forward, merging with his shadow until light and dark coexisted. As the trials ended, the crew awoke back in the chamber of orbs, their hearts pounding with newfound clarity and unity. Orion's voice echoed softly. Trials complete. Synchronization at 99.7%. Initiating integration with Dreamweaver's consciousness. Suddenly, the orbs glowed intensely, and a flood of images, emotions, and knowledge washed over them, memories of eons, secrets of the stars, and the sacred duty of dream guardianship. Lyra felt a serene purpose blossom within her, a call to protect not only the dreams of humanity but the infinite dreams scattered across the universe. The trials had transformed them. No longer just astronauts aboard Aetheris station, Lyra, Juno, Samira, and Kaito now carried within themselves the consciousness of the Dreamweavers, a cosmic legacy as ancient as the stars themselves. But with such gifts came responsibilities and mysteries yet unraveled. Orion's voice filled the chamber where the crew gathered post-trials. Integration successful. Neural synchronization stable. The Dream Nexus core within the Lost Station has responded. Initiating activation sequence. The walls around them shimmered and folded, revealing a vast chamber beyond the Dream Nexus. Here, light and shadow danced in endless spirals, weaving patterns that seemed to hum with life. Lyra floated toward the center, where a crystalline structure pulsed with radiant energy. It was the heart of the station, the very source of the echo waves that had reached them. The Nexus, Juno murmured. It's alive. Samira reached out tentatively. Her fingers brushed the surface, and a flood of visions cascaded through her mind, worlds blooming with life, civilizations rising and fading, dreams shaping reality itself. Suddenly, the Nexus responded. A surge of light shot through the room, enveloping the crew in a cocoon of warmth and soundless music. Their minds linked, bound together by the Dreamweaver's ancient will. Within this shared consciousness, they discovered the Nexus purpose, a gateway between realms of thought and matter, a bridge where dreams became the fabric of existence. The Dreamweavers had created it to preserve and nurture the collective imagination of sentient beings. but the gateway was fragile. Over eons, it had weakened, its guardians lost to time, leaving it vulnerable. We are its new custodians, Lyra realized aloud. Chosen to protect the boundary between dreams and reality. Juno nodded. But how do we guard something so vast? So intangible? Orion projected a schematic of the Nexus core. Embedded within were energy conduits tied to the station's systems, responsive to the crew's thoughts and emotions. The Nexus requires harmony, Samira said. Balance of mind, heart, and spirit. Disharmony weakens it. They understood then that their trials were only the beginning. They must learn to channel their shared consciousness to stabilize the Nexus, lest the gateway collapse, tearing apart the fragile veil separating dimensions. As days passed, the crew trained to synchronize their minds deeper. Meditation sessions became more intense, blending technology with ancient rituals discovered within the Dreamweaver's memory archives. One evening, while meditating in the Nexus chamber, Lyra felt a presence unlike any before, a voice not spoken, but felt, resonating from the core. Seek the dream seed, it echoed. The essence of creation, lost beyond a veil. Determined, they scoured the station's archives and found references to the Dream Seed, a legendary artifact said to hold the power to rejuvenate the Nexus, to birth new worlds of thought and being. The search for the Dream Seed would take them beyond even the lost station into uncharted territories of space and mind. Meanwhile, outside the station, the strange light that had approached earlier began to pulse rhythmically, as if awaiting their next move. Lyra watched from the observation dome, heart pounding. It's waiting for us to act, she said softly. Juno replied, then we must prepare. For whatever lies ahead, this journey will test not only our minds, but our very souls. The Dream Nexus had awakened a new purpose within the hearts of the crew. The quest for the Dream Seed was no longer a distant legend, but a tangible mission, pulsing with urgency and wonder. Lyra, Juno, Samira, and Kaito gathered in the command module, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of star charts and ancient holograms retrieved from the lost station's archives. According to these records, Lyra began, tracing a swirling pattern on the map. The Dream Seed lies beyond the Veil of Whispers, a region where space-time bends, and consciousness weaves the fabric of reality. Kaito tapped into the station's navigation system, inputting coordinates from the fragmented data. The Veil of Whispers is uncharted, he noted. Our sensors can't penetrate its depths. But the Dream Seed's energy signature might be detectable with enhanced quantum resonance. Samira smiled, her eyes shining with determination. It's a journey of mind as much as machine. We must prepare for challenges not only physical but spiritual. Preparation consumed days. The crew enhanced their neural interfaces, fine-tuned meditation protocols, and trained in lucid dreaming techniques to strengthen their collective consciousness. Orion supported tirelessly, compiling data and predicting probable paths through the Veil's unpredictable distortions. Estimated travel time, variable, Orion announced. Environmental hazards, high. Psychological stress factors, significant. Juno clasped his hands. We've faced uncertainty before. This time, we carry the hopes of countless civilizations and the legacy of the Dreamweavers. As Aetheris edged toward the Veil of Whispers, the stars outside blurred into streaks of color. Space twisted and folded in impossible ways. The crew felt the pull of strange energies, a symphony of vibrations that resonated with their very beings. In the observation dome, Lyra peered into the swirling mists beyond. "It's like looking into a living dream," she murmured. Suddenly, the station trembled lightly. "Anomaly detected," Orion warned. "Subspace fluctuations increasing." Samira closed her eyes, breathing deeply. "Focus on the dream seed," she urged. "Let it guide us." The station passed through the veil, and what awaited was beyond description. An ethereal landscape of shimmering lights and floating consciousnesses enveloped them. Time and space melted into a river of colors and sensations. In this realm, the crew's minds intertwined seamlessly, their dreams weaving a collective path toward the dream seed. Along the way, visions appeared, fragments of ancient civilizations, echoes of lost hopes, and guardians formed of pure light and thought. The trials became as real as breathing, testing their resolve and unity. At last, in the heart of this dreamscape, they found the dream seed, a radiant orb pulsating with infinite potential. Lyra reached out, feeling warmth and a surge of understanding. The dream seed was not just an artifact but a living essence, the seed of creation and imagination. With reverence, the crew integrated the dream seed's energy into the nexus, restoring its brilliance. Back aboard the physical station, light cascaded through every module. The lost station thrummed with renewed life. The crew smiled, knowing their journey was just beginning. They were now the true Dreamweavers, guardians of the cosmic dreams that bound the universe. The dream nexus pulsed with newfound brilliance, its radiant light casting shimmering reflections through every chamber of the lost station. The dream seed, now integrated and alive within the core, sang a song older than galaxies, an eternal melody of creation, hope, and infinite possibility. Lyra floated silently in the observation dome, gazing out at the tapestry of stars woven across the cosmic night. They no longer seemed distant and cold, they were vibrant, alive, and intimately connected to the very essence of her being. Around her, the station hummed softly, alive with the consciousness of countless dreamers across the universe. The crew gathered one final time in the heart of the Dream Nexus chamber. Their eyes, bright with wonder and experience, reflected the swirling orbs of light that danced in celebration. Juno's voice, steady and warm, broke the serene silence. "We embarked on this mission as explorers, scientists, and dreamers. But we have become something more, a bridge between worlds, a custodianship of dreams spanning time and space." Samira smiled gently. "We have learned that dreams are not mere illusions but threads of reality waiting to be woven. We carry the legacy of the Dreamweavers, and with it, a responsibility beyond comprehension." Kaito nodded, eyes reflecting the cosmic light. Our journey was one of discovery of the universe, and of ourselves. The dream seed has rekindled not only the nexus but also the spark within us all. Lyra stepped forward, her heart full. The station is no longer just a place of science. It is a sanctuary of consciousness. A home for those who dare to dream beyond the stars. Their minds linked once more, drawing strength and unity from the dream nexus. The station responded with waves of iridescent light that rippled through space, sending their message across the cosmos. We are awake. We dream. We guard the eternal. Far beyond, in the silent depths of space, distant lights flickered in recognition. Other dreamers, other guardians, awakening. As days turned to weeks, Aetheris Station became a beacon of hope and mystery. Messages arrived from new explorers who sensed the awakening, joining in the cosmic web of dreams. Yet, the crew remained grounded in their mission, balancing the delicate dance between reality and reverie. Lyra often reflected on the journey, the trials faced, the dreams shared, and the infinite paths ahead. Our story is but one chapter in an endless epic, she mused. But it is ours to write, with every breath and every dream. In the quiet moments, beneath the shimmering veil of stars, the crew found peace. Not in answers alone, but in the wonder of the unknown. The dream nexus stood eternal, a living testament to the power of dreams and the boundless reach of the human spirit. And as the universe whispered its timeless lullaby, the crew of Aetheris Station closed their eyes, drifting once more into the infinite embrace of the cosmic dream. Title: Aetheris, the Eternal Dream Journey Beyond the Stars. Description: in the quiet vastness of space, aboard the advanced orbiting sanctuary Aetheris Station, 4 explorers embark on a journey beyond science and reality. When mysterious signals known as the echo waves awaken an ancient cosmic legacy, the Dreamweaver's lost station of dreams, the crew must navigate trials of mind, spirit, and heart. Bound together by shared visions and a sacred mission, they unlock the secrets of the dream nexus, a gateway where dreams and reality intertwine. Their quest leads them across dimensions of thought and space, to seek the legendary dream seed, a source of infinite creation and hope. Aetheris, the Eternal Dream, is a tale of cosmic wonder, human resilience, and the profound power of dreams that bind the universe. It explores the delicate balance between knowledge and mystery, science and spirituality, and the eternal human desire to reach for the stars both outwardly and within. Join Lyra, Juno, Samira, and Kaito as they traverse the unknown, awakening not only ancient legacies but the limitless potential of the human spirit in this immersive space fantasy saga.